Did you know that it's possible to not only deal with negative emotion at work, but also to use it to fuel your growth and the growth of your business? Well, I've got the way to help you do that. You ready to hear them? Let's dive in. From time to time, each and every one of us experience those negative emotions at work, the fear, the frustration, the anger, and it can be challenging to understand how to navigate, how to deal with them. Well, I created a growth mindset, a strategy that actually arms you with the means to accelerate your growth when you're experiencing those emotions. It's a mindset that I'm paid millions of dollars every year to teach to my client base all over the world. And I've got the tricks to that in this video. By the end of this video, you're going to learn how these difficult emotions signal us into our greatest moments of opportunity to grow. You're going to learn about 3 ways these emotions show up or manifest in our work and how best to identify them: the acute signal, the recurring signal, and the intermittent signal. Let me start off by just briefing you on the mindset of change enthusiasm. Now, this is a growth mindset that I wrote about in my book, that I established an entire consulting company around, and that I'm now paid millions of dollars to teach to leaders and executives all over the world. Well, the first step in this growth mindset is something I've coined the signal. And the signal are those really difficult emotions when we're going through a lot of change, disruption in our work. It's what so many call negative emotions. Now, I personally shy away from deeming them negative because I think they're gifts. They're a natural part of the human species, and I think they signal us into our greatest moments of opportunity to grow. And it's in this first step that it's so important to recognize when these signals are present and how they manifest through us. So, I want to share with you the 3 different ways you might experience these more difficult emotions in your work, and then how you move forward in dealing with them. So the first type, or the first way that these emotions can signal us, is what I call the acute signal. The acute signal. These are rough. These are the ones that when you experience them, it's like they wash over you all of a sudden. At one point, I spent 15 years working in more traditional roles of corporate America, and I was going through a huge multi-billion-dollar acquisition. And soon after the acquisition closed, I was given a brand new manager. And this manager, doing a budget review, told me, Cassandra, I like you, and I want to keep you, but I'm just not seeing a lot of value in keeping you in my organization in the next couple years. I was floored. Acute signal. Hair standing up on the back of my neck. Mouth go dry. I lost my words. Now, I kept it together while he was still in my office, but then when he left, I was like in the state of panic. This is the acute signal. When someone said something, when you hear an announcement, when you have some type of encounter, and the emotion just washes over you and physically might stop you in your tracks. Now, this is the type of signal that is really, it's very loud, and it's signaling you into something that you really care about, something that you value. The best thing that you can do when you're in this moment, when you're experiencing that signal emotion, is try to find something to remove your conscious thought away from that emotional energy. For example, after he left my office, and I had kept it together during that conversation, but after he left my office, recognizing I was in that acute signal, I actually decided to step away from the office. And I went to my favorite coffee house, and I sat down and I had me a cup of coffee so that I could breathe, so that I could get my conscious thoughts away from that signal energy. That's the best way to mitigate something like this, because what you want to watch out for is becoming the emotion. When these emotions hit us in a really acute way, we can become anger. We can become frustration and act and speak in a way that we might later regret. So the best way to mitigate this one is to remove your conscious thought from that emotional energy as best you can. Now, the next way that these signal emotions might show up within us during work is what I call the recurring signal. The recurring signal. Now, this is the type of signal that happens typically when we're doing the same types of things in our work. For example, maybe every time you're working on an Excel spreadsheet, you feel frustrated. No matter what you're populating in that spreadsheet, no matter what project you're working on, whenever you pull up Excel, your heart just starts beating faster, you start sweating a little bit because that frustration, some of those signals are coming. Now, what these recurring signals usually indicate to us is there's opportunity to learn and to grow in that specific area of our work. Now, that might mean that maybe you need to take some classes on Excel, maybe you need to learn some tricks, some tips on how to manage Excel better, or it could mean you need to find something where you do less with Excel. Right? Regardless, though, of what your choice is, this is inviting you to an opportunity to change, right? To pivot that portion of your work. And that's what I call the recurring signal. Again, all of this is data. All of this is data for us to reflect and think about what is it trying to inform us of, right? Whether that be learning in a way, to grow, or maybe making a pivot so that you're minimizing that activity that's inviting those recurring signals. By the way, are you digging this content? Have you yourself felt any of these types of signals, whether they be acute or recurring? If you have, drop it in the comment box. I'd love to hear from you. How are you experiencing these emotions? How are they showing up for you? Love to hear it. All right, let's dive back in. And last and certainly not least, the way that these emotions might show up or manifest or signal to us is what I call the intermittent signal. The intermittent signal. Now let's see if I can actually spell this correctly. Intermittent. Listen, I am a change expert. I am not an English professor. I know I'm going to come back and put in the comments myself the correct spelling of this word. I feel like that's not right, but we're going to keep it moving. So the intermittent signal is really that everyday type of signal, right? It doesn't necessarily always occur when you're doing the same type of work. It's the signals that are a part of everyday life. Maybe one day you wake up, you didn't get enough rest, and you're just feeling irritable. You're feeling frustrated about everything throughout the day. What's important when you're getting these types of signals is that you're just paying attention, right? Pay attention, because what they could be are actually recurring signals. And so again, this is all data. And so just pay attention to what you're doing, who you're interacting with, what's going on in your work, that these signals are popping up. Really what I want to stress with this one is that it is data, and it's something for you to pay close attention to. I'm an avid journaler. I love to journal. It's actually a spiritual practice for me. I do it every day. And I often express common emotions that I've gotten throughout the day. And by creating what I call a data log, I can go back and see, you know what? I've been doing a similar thing, and it feels like, or I can see every time I do it, I get a little bit frustrated. And so that's inviting me to kind of explore that. How do I need to grow in this area? And so again, it's data that I just invite you to pay attention to. And again, I'm gonna get the spelling of this right. I know that I am. The value of doing these videos is I have an editor. Kaboom! Intermittent signals, now spelled correctly. Everything that I informed you about this type of signal still holds true. It's just spelled right now. So now that you've got a better understanding on how this emotional energy can show up and work and how they signal us into moments of opportunity, I've got something else for you. I want to gift you a free chapter of my new book, Change Enthusiasm: How to Harness the Power of Emotion for Leadership and Success. And specifically, I want to arm you with a chapter on the signal. And it's rich with a lot of exercises, some things that you can employ to leverage the power of these emotions and what you can be practicing, whether you're experiencing acute, a recurring, or an intermittent signal. That's my gift to you. And it's free. All you got to do is click on the link below. I want to make sure you have the research, the insights, and the data to enable you to successfully grow through even your greatest change challenges. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.